Talking Holyfield again today, and if you missed our last episode, be sure to check that out because we kind of set the stage for what we're doing here, talking through my 2017 hunting season. For this buck I call Holyfield, and in that first episode we talked about the preseason work and the very first hunt of the year. Now, after that first hunt of the year, things didn't go the way I wanted them to, so I was going to wait until late October to hunt for this buck again, because that was when, historically, he started moving again. So that was the game plan, waiting for that 24th, 25th of October, hopefully good conditions, and I had what I thought was a perfect setup for that time frame, because actually the past 2 years before this, I had almost gotten a shot at him in this very exact spot. That's where I'm headed right now. So this is that spot where I really thought I was going to have a chance at Holyfield during that late October time period. Like I said, almost had shots at him from this tree right there on the 24th and the 25th in 2015 and 16. So I've got a food plot system here. We've got brassica and oats usually in this section. I've got clover back over here, and then this terrific bedding area here in front of me where Holyfield often spent time. So I was waiting for that time period to come back in here. It says that 24th, 25th time period arrived. I saw this cold front coming through. It seemed perfect. So I told myself, all right, I'm gonna hunt the 24th. That's gonna be the first day hunt for him. As I got closer though, I realized that things weren't gonna be quite as good as I thought. The winds were gonna be much higher than you'd ideally want them to be. So I got to the morning of that day of the hunt. I told myself for a week now that this is when I was gonna hunt, but now I was looking at 15, 18, maybe even 20-mile-an-hour winds. Certainly not ideal. And this is one of the big mistakes I made. I pushed it. I kind of convinced myself, the winds aren't that bad. You gotta be in there hunting. And I think I was just so excited. I built this up in my mind so much that I did not listen to reason. And instead I went in and hunted this stand. I didn't actually hunt here where I originally wanted to. I did find a different spot. There's a tree way out that way, maybe 200-300 yards away, that I could hunt with the wind direction. Climbed in there and right away realized things were actually worse than I thought they were going to be. The winds were higher than forecasted and even swirling. So right then and there I realized, wow, I'm possibly screwing things up. This might be swirling right into his bedding area. So I packed all my stuff up within 5 minutes of getting the tree and bailed out of there and called it quits. That left me to wait for the 25th when conditions did look better, and I was hoping that I hadn't screwed things up so much the night before that I couldn't still have some luck. Well, this is it. Finally gonna be kicking off the real hunt for Holyfield. I've got the nerves a little bit. Conditions are awesome tonight. We'll talk about that some more as I actually get out there in the field, but things are looking really good. I'm looking for that guy right there, and just gotta cross all my fingers and toes that things finally work out. It's been 3 years in the making. Now it's time to close it up. So, gonna go take a quick scent-free shower, pack up all my stuff. I already practiced with my bow a little bit today, and it's time to get after it. It is October 25th, and it's been an inauspicious start. Had a rough beginning to the day. Tried to get in here, went to my blind, my redneck blind, and it was infested with bees. So I had to pull out of there, go back to the house, get my gear for a tree stand hunt, and then wait for the wind to shift a little bit so I could hunt a tree. So the wind has shifted to a mostly west-northwest wind, which allows me to hunt this stand I'm in here tonight. One of my favorite stands on the whole property. I'm very, very excited. A little nervous. Hoping for good things. So far, just a bunch of does, a couple year-and-a-half-old bucks. Not any kind of sightings of 2 or 3-year-old bucks or anything older. Kind of surprised by that. We're down to the last 20-30 minutes of light. So things didn't go the way I wanted them to that night either. Just saw some does and some little bucks. But here's the next mistake I made. That night, when I tried to get in and hunt this blind right here, I had the right wind for this blind. But for that tree stand just another 60 yards north of me, that wind was not nearly as good. but as you heard me mention in the interview, I thought if the wind shifted just a little bit, if I waited long enough, I could maybe get away with it. Well, maybe that was a mistake, because there certainly were times when the wind was blowing back into some of that cover, not all of it, but some of it, and maybe that was where Holyfield had been bedded. So again, I thought I had this perfect setup here, but because of the conditions, because of the bees, I got pushed to go outside of that original plan, and because I was so dead set on hunting that night, I was willing to take a risk that maybe didn't pay off. Maybe it was part of the reason why I didn't end up seeing him that night or the subsequent nights, and that's kind of what happened from here on out. I hunted that 24th, bailed out on that hunt, came in here on the 25th, had the bee incident, had to push into a spot that wasn't quite 100% perfect, hunted a couple more days, similar kind of results. Just saw some does and young bucks, no sign of Holyfield. I was getting trail camera pictures of him, but nothing during daylight, so it was a little bit discouraging. I ended up leaving, going to Ohio for a couple of days, thought I'd check it out down there and give this property a little bit of a break. Saw some nice bucks there, passed on a couple deer, and then came back here with higher hopes for Halloween, hoping that maybe things would turn around now that the rut was probably going to be popping today. Alright, well it is October 31st, Halloween, one of the best days to be in the woods, and it's feeling like it should live up to those expectations tonight. Seconds and then he disappeared. He hasn't reappeared yet. I don't know if he continued cruising or if he bedded down somewhere in there. And so that's how we wrapped up the month of October. It ended on a high note. I finally got eyes on Holyfield, and most importantly, I found that despite the mistakes I made, Holyfield was still moving in daylight. So that was a huge relief. Felt very good about that. And I think when you look at the mistakes I made, these couple hunts where I pushed it too much, I think it all revolves around this bigger issue of balancing, balancing your excitement to hunt versus the logic and reason behind when you should be hunting. So I knew that I shouldn't be hunting spots with a bad wind, especially early on in the season like this, but I was so excited. I'd kind of already made this plan to myself that I was going to hunt on the 24th, I was going to hunt on the 25th. And it was hard for me to break that. It was hard for me to make that switch in my mind that, okay, no, the wind isn't as right as you thought it was going to be. Don't push it too far. Don't push it too soon. I probably should have slammed on the brakes, but I didn't because of that. I mean, it's a good thing, right? I was excited to hunt. We should be excited to hunt. That's part of why we do this. This is part of why we love it. Is that energy, but sometimes I can get the best of you. And I think that's maybe what happened here. I let that energy and excitement get in the way of reason, get in the way of what I knew was the right thing to do, and it led to potentially blowing out some bedding areas with my wind, potentially missing out on opportunities for this deer. Now, luckily, I got bailed out. He was moving in daylight in a different section of the farm now, and I would still have that chance. And that's what we're going to cover in the next episode as we dive into Sweet November, when things were sure to heat up, and fortunately for me, they did, and the close calls started happening.